So, every single year, India, one of the world's fastest growing economies, lays out its financial game plan for the entire country. It's called the Union Budget, and trust me, it's way more than just a bunch of numbers. It's the roadmap for the entire nation. Let's break down the 2026-27 budget and really get into the strategy that's going to shape India's economy for the year ahead. It's a pretty wild question when you think about it, right? How can one single document, released once a year, actually steer the direction of a multi-trillion-dollar economy with over 1 billion people? Well, the way it works is by setting priorities. It's all about deciding where the money comes from and maybe, more importantly, where it's all going to go. This one document literally affects everything from the roads you drive on to the taxes you pay. So, what is it really? At its heart, the Union Budget is just the country's annual financial statement. You can think of it like a super detailed plan that maps out all the government's expected income, from taxes and other stuff, and all of its planned expenses for the coming fiscal year. It is the ultimate strategic playbook. You can really boil down the entire story of this budget to just two critical numbers. Seriously. Together, they reveal pretty much everything you need to know about the government's core financial strategy and its biggest priorities. Okay, first up, we've got this number, around 4.3%. Now, this is the government's target for what's called the fiscal deficit. That might sound a little technical, but all it really means is the gap between what the government spends and what it earns. Getting this number down is a huge goal, signaling a real commitment to being financially disciplined, especially after the higher levels we saw during the pandemic. So, here's the key takeaway. A lower fiscal deficit means the government is basically trying to borrow less to pay its bills. It's no different than your own household trying to live within its means, right? By aiming for 4.3%, the government is sending a strong message to investors all over the world that it's being financially responsible while still making sure the economy grows. And that brings us to the second massive, and I mean massive number, roughly 12.2 lakh crore rupees. This is what's known as capital expenditure, or CAPEX. Now, this isn't money to keep the lights on or pay daily expenses. No, this is the big investment fund. This is the cash dedicated to actually building things for the future. Assets like new roads, ports, and factories. Now, take a look at this. What's so powerful here isn't just one number, it's the trend. This chart shows a huge, and I mean huge, jump in this kind of investment spending for 2026-27 compared to the last few years. This isn't just a small bump, it's a loud and clear statement of intent to go all in on building the country's long-term growth infrastructure. So where is all of this cash, over 12 lakh crore rupees, actually going? What's the plan? This next part breaks down the core pillars of the government's strategy for, building the India of tomorrow. Okay, so the strategy here is really focused. They're channeling all that investment into three main areas, three powerful pillars. First, there's a massive push in infrastructure to build the physical foundation of the economy. Then, that's paired with a major boost for manufacturing, which is all about creating jobs and products. And holding it all together is a serious focus on green energy to make sure the future is sustainable. Let's dive into the specifics, starting with infrastructure. We're not just talking small improvements here. We're talking about absolute game changers, like new high-speed rail corridors to get people where they need to go faster than ever, and dedicated freight corridors to make sure goods can move across the country with incredible efficiency. And then there's manufacturing. The ambition here is massive, to turn India into a global powerhouse. You've got initiatives like the Semiconductor Mission 2.0, which aims to build a high-tech electronics ecosystem right here at home. Plus, there are new parks for electronics and textiles, and a big focus on developing rare earth minerals, which are absolutely crucial for all modern technology. And finally, wrapping it all up is that third pillar, which is all about sustainability. The budget is pumping significant funds into renewable energy projects. It's also providing incentives for critical battery storage technology and offering broad support for developing all kinds of clean tech. The whole point is to power future growth responsibly without wrecking the planet. Okay, so that's the big picture, the grand economic strategy. But what does any of this actually mean for you, for ordinary citizens, and for small businesses? Let's zoom in now on the direct impacts it could have on daily life. Well, one of the most direct impacts is, of course, on your wallet. There's a new income tax act being proposed for 2026.
The main idea here is to provide some relief, especially for middle-income taxpayers. The goal is to simplify the whole system and hopefully leave a little more money in people's hands to either spend or save.
Now, let's talk about the real engine of the economy, the small and medium-sized businesses, or MSMEs. The budget is creating a dedicated fund of 10,000 crore rupees specifically to help them grow and innovate. So, what does that money do? Well, it's not just a lump sum. It's designed to fuel very specific initiatives to help these small businesses thrive. We're talking about things like special incentives to make it easier for them to get loans and credit, and new programs to encourage them to sell their products on the global market. But the support doesn't stop with businesses. The budget is also investing in the things that form the very backbone of the nation. There's a big push for digital agriculture to empower farmers, new schemes to boost productivity in rural areas, and, critically, increase spending on the twin pillars of health and education. All right, so we've looked at the careful spending, the huge investments, the support for people and businesses. When you step back and put all these different pieces together, what's the end game? What is the grand vision driving this whole financial plan?
It all comes down to this one powerful phrase, towards a Viksit Bharat. It translates to developed India. So every policy, every single rupee allocated, and every number we've talked about today is designed to be one more step towards that huge, long-term ambition of transforming India into a developed nation.
And that, right there, leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? The budget is the blueprint. It's the carefully crafted game plan for the year. It sets a really ambitious course, and the plan is all there on paper. But whether it can actually build that prosperous, developed, and sustainable future it envisions, well, that's the story we'll all be watching unfold.